Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And tonight, yes, we are an hour and a half late at least. But I want to thank everybody who's going to join this live stream tonight because precious metals is out of control. Specifically, gold and silver. Gold went to $5,100. Silver went to $110. Who saw this coming? Pretty much everybody. We just didn't know when it would happen. That's why you always have to have a little bit of precious metals in your portfolio because this was inevitable. We just thought it was going to happen a little bit later, not in our lifetime. But here we go because the rest of the world is saying we're going to go look at some other things. And meanwhile, we're going to stop investing and we're going to buy the one thing that counts: gold, silver, precious metals, physical, not paper, not stocks, physical. And now there's a run on physical. That also means there's going to be a run on the cost because guess who needs gold, silver, platinum, palladium? A lot of these EV companies, tech companies, they actually need the physical to produce their products. This is what crypto was supposed to be about. When you always tried to figure out a utility, except one problem. There's always no real utility because that is just like the US dollar. So let's get into it tonight. I want to hear from you guys and welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream. Stop struggling now. Gear, check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Please share the videos because you never know who's out here looking for information. And if you have a comment to make, it's down below the comment section. Also, after the live stream, if you need to see the chat room and you're on mobile, I don't know what happens on your computer, but on mobile, you hit the comment section, swipe left, and you can swipe left a few times, but you should see a menu that comes up. If you want to see the live chat, then you got to tap on it. And then I'll open up the live chat because you never know what I'm going to have in the chat room as links. But everybody lately for 2026, you know the first thing, findhelp.org. Every live stream, I have to start like this just in case we have new people that watch this channel. You need help out here? Findhelp.org. And I always put a link in the chat room. You put in your zip code. So this way people can help you. It's that simple. All right, here we go. It's in the chat room for you. There's the link. And also, if you have mental health that you need help with, 211.org. It's on your phone. It's online, on the internet. And it's also under Find Help for mental. Job growth, also under Find Help, job training. Medical help, help with your rent, help with your mortgage, transportation help, bus passes, subway passes, things of this nature, all kind of different things, medical, a little bit of help. There's nonprofit organizations that can help you out here. All right. The federal government gives them money, the state gives them money, and they're supposed to help you. Some charge a little bit of a fee, some don't. That's why you have to make the phone call. All right. So get the first things first. Once you can get that established, then you can establish other things. But let's get into the precious metals. I'm not going to wait too long because, of course, we're going to go to CNBC and see the numbers right in front of your face. You can see here $5,067 for gold. Wow. It surged past 5,100 as investors seek shelter from global risk. What are those global risks? Well, you have wars, you have a lot of rhetoric, you have companies and countries saying that they're going to pull money out of the United States via the stock market, via treasuries. Uh, they're not even going to do business. They're going to go around the U.S. All kind of mayhem is going on, tariff wars. And now people are saying, you know what? It's not even worth it. Let's just move over to these precious metals. Let's put our money there instead. Knowing, again, a short squeeze, knowing corporations around the world need these precious metals that you see on the screen. They're in your cell phones, they're in your laptops, they're on chips. Just for starters, they're in the battery packs for EVs. Lots of things. And these are some of the ingredients they need. And again, there's a short squeeze happening because people physically have to have it in order to manufacture their products, and they're willing to pay more. Can you imagine right now when gold used to be around 3,500 and all of a sudden now you're paying $5,000 for the same allotment per ounce? Oof, that hurts. That really hurts, ladies and gentlemen. You should be riding along on this train. Some of you would say, well, I don't have the money to ride along on the train. Well, here's the thing. If you can't buy an ounce, fine, because an ounce of gold is $5,000. Then you have to start looking at grams. Just like if you can't do $110 of silver, then you have to look at grams. I am on the side of, I like smaller denominations. Why? Because smaller denominations could be worth, like, let's call it $20 in the case of silver potential. I don't know what a gram is right now, but let's say it's $20. So now if I have an ounce, we know it's 110. If I have a gram, let's call it $20. So now if I say, well, somebody says, well, I want the value of $250 or $240, you can get there versus going, well, all I have is ounces. So again, smaller denominations still work. It's still the same. But if you're going to buy gold and silver, you want to get it from reputable places. And right now they're out. Even copper you can't find. And copper is only $5.89. It should be higher as well. Platinum and palladium has doubled over the year, but not doing anything what gold and silver, because everybody on the planet says, okay, instead of buying bonds and treasuries and stocks from the United States, we're going to buy gold and silver because you can't manipulate it. The U.S. can't manipulate. They have world currency. So think about all that. All right. So the other way where you're building your wealth from this, remember, I should point something out just to make sure everybody's clear. If you have anything to say, please, the comment section is open. But I just have to make sure that you guys understand what we're talking about, because this is pretty serious. All the time since the 1980, the United States government, central banks around the world, COMEX, they've been manipulating the price of precious metals the whole time to make sure it was low, because we're using currency, dollar bills, or the country you live in uses currencies. Whatever your denomination is. I mean, it could be rubles if you're in Russia, I guess. It could be the lira if you're in Turkey. It could be a peso, depending on which country you're in. Mexico has pesos. Dominican Republic has pesos. Several countries have pesos. Philippines, pesos. So again, currency goes to zero. But what doesn't? Universally, gold and silver is universal. Platinum, palladium, diamonds, things like this is universal. Doesn't matter where you're from. If somebody came to you and they say this is 1 ounce of gold and 1 ounce of silver, no matter where you're from, you're going, it's worth over $5,000. So nobody can shortchange you. It doesn't devalue. because it goes against the grain. So this is why there was silver stacker, gold stackers. They're still stacking, even though they were buying gold and silver when it was $8. So now their dollar cost average rises, which again, that's the downfall to this. But would you be that scared because you know it's going to continue to rise because countries are going to use currency? So currency devalues because you have to print more because it does not earn by itself. And where are you going to get the currency from? You need people to buy bonds and treasuries, or you need people to put it in a bank. Otherwise, you can't lend. So it's a self fulfilling prophecy that there's going to be failure. It just depends on what time. In case you're new here and you haven't been checking us out, down below in the description box, I'm going to put some things in right now. It's going to take about 5 minutes while I'm talking. But we do have like a Facebook group. We do have WhatsApp. We do have a few things. And I post up, like I sent a video from Ray Dalio that was describing how bonds and treasuries and everything it works, simplified. Because, I can tell people this and that, and they say, well, okay, Ray Dalio's a known person worldwide, been financier for, I don't even know, 50 years. So people tend to listen to what he says. And this is exactly what we've been saying here. It's inevitable. The system is already rigged. It goes zero. All currencies, zero. This is not even, it just depends on how fast. But the Ray Dalio video, make sure you go to Stop Struggling Now group. There'll be a link down below, okay? I'm going to get that. In fact, I'm going to do this in a second. All right? I'm going to do this in a second. I'm going to put this in because this is very, very cool, the video. And once you understand from just his little, I think the video is no more than 45 seconds. Once you look at that, then you'll find out how effed we are if you're not already wealthy. By the way, the boomers, they have like over $1 trillion worth of wealth. So they're holding it by themselves. They're going to pass it on to their heirs, but the heirs may or may not get it because it depends on how they pass it, right? So do they have a trust? Do they have insurance? What is the vehicle? Do they have to go through probate? If you go through probate, then people can come out of the woodworks and contest it. So there's a bunch of things that can happen for that transfer, but there's going to be some people that's going to be transferring it properly. Others will not be able to transfer it properly, which is very, very sad. But nonetheless, you guys do understand precious metals are taking off and people are sitting there looking, going, my God, what's happening out here? All right. But make sure whatever you do, smash that like button, give it a one piece so the YouTube guys know that you're in the house. And down below in the chat room, there will also be the findhelp.org, not the chat room, but in the description box. All right. That's going to be number one up tonight on the list. Then we're going to talk about loans because there's no way you can get some of these precious metals because the wealth building is going down now. We talked about this before. You need your credit to be good. So if you need to go look at your credit, start with smartcredit.com. I have a link down below. Use the Stop Struggling Now link because oftentimes they give us a special promotion. Like you can have a 6 months for $1 or $3 or something like this, 3 months for $1. It's all different specials all the time that can help you get started. This actually monitors your credit scores. It gives you your FICO score in case you want to buy a liability such as a vehicle. It also monitors hiring index. That is important. Plus your regular credit scores as well. All of that is important. What the deal is now is trying to figure out how you have disposable income, which means that's money that you can use to save after your bills. It's getting harder and harder. Bills are rising every week. You can't run, you can't hide, because if you live somewhere, everything's rising. If you own a home, property taxes, insurance goes up. If you don't own a home, your rent goes up because that's what's happening to the owner of the property. So either way, you're going to get hit. Food prices all going up, no way around it. They're not going down. Farmers are losing their workforce. They lost them already. They lost their markets. And now the US has to import because the rest of the world said, we don't care about dealing with you when we can buy stuff from other countries. So now we have to produce it and it costs way more. So when you go to the grocery store, you don't even know what the costs are going to be from week to week, the way the prices can bounce around. Transportation companies are going out of business because of tariffs, not moving enough shipping and supplies from food. And it's a global economy. So somebody would say, okay, I'm not shipping enough cars. Okay, so a few shipping companies go out of business. Somebody says, okay, a few a few hundred farms go out of business. Okay, though the transportation companies that support those from dock to the farm, bye bye. Now the employees, bye bye, no job. There's a domino effect right now, and this is what the rest of the world knows, or you know who? The hedge fund guys, the people on the stock market, the people around the world who are investors. They realize this jig is up. Let's go off over here and get our money into gold and silver, especially when it's rising like this. I told you 2 weeks ago, it's going to be a short squeeze. So this is no surprise. How else can we get into this? Now, the smart credit, the reason why I talked about that is so you can potentially improve your credit score, which means you're reducing your debt. And that reduction of debt hopefully gives you $50, $30, $100 that you can go buy yourself an ounce or grams of something that is precious metals. So you can hold on to it because the price is going to get higher regardless of what you see on your screen. It's going to get higher and higher, right? Regardless if you see this right here, right? Doesn't matter it went down tonight or what's happening. There's a reason. There's always an up and a down. And that is the other part to this equation. After you get your debt handled, which by the way, I got to give you guys somebody else. You want to get your, improve your debt. Then we got to go see Tracy. You got to email her. Tracy, TRACY .sharp, SHARPE at moneyladder.com. You got to go see her. Okay. Email her. Let her know what you're doing. Do not file bankruptcy. Do not let your stuff go into debt collections. She can help you. I'm going to put a link in the chat room. All right. And I'm going to put a link also in the chat room and down below in the description box. We're going to put that down below so you can see a video when she worked with another company. That YouTube videos when she came around almost a year and a half to 2 years ago. And she explains exactly what she did with them. That's what she now does with Money Ladder. So again, at the end of you getting your debt reduced, paying it off, your credit, they report as paid in full, good standing, green light. So your credit score will jump back up to a great number. And we need you to be at 755. By the end of this year, December 31st, 2026, it's doable. But you got to start now. You got to get your debt reduced because you don't know how much anything's going to cost. Some of you already went to your employer because you got a letter and you said, hey, you used to contribute about $50 to $150, some of you $200 a month for your health care. Unfortunately, we have to charge you now $600 or $400 because it's 2 or 3 times as much as it was. So if you want to continue, so now you just went backwards because the ACA subsidies are not included. So we can have an ICE force that kills people and does nothing for production. You're not getting your transportation jobs back. You're not getting your health care back. Your Medicaid and Medicare are at risk. Your Social Security is going to be at risk because they're going to have to start taking money from somewhere to pay the debts. I'm referring to the United States government. Meanwhile, gold, silver, and precious metals, wealth transfers happening right underneath your eyes. And since 1980, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the the government has been trying to stall this because they started using paper. So you can buy silver stocks, right? Silver certificates, silver stocks, silver mining companies, gold mining stocks, you gold dollars, just so you will not buy the physical, because the paper, you can always, that low balls the actual, because if nobody's buying the physical, then that keeps the price low. That's what's been happening for 40 plus years. Now all of a sudden people got smart and said, oh no, I got to hold this, because they realize their money in a bank may not be their money. That's right. In case you don't understand, when you sign to open up your account, you're signing over saying on the fine print that the money belongs to them. All right. So it's no longer yours once you give it to the bank. That's why you need to hold physical, not paper, because they can manipulate the paper. They can't manipulate the physical, because there's only so much that can come out of the ground. And right now, all the silver dealers have nothing in stock because people are buying it out. Of course they would. After it goes from 25 to 30, 35 to 40, 45 to 50, 50 to 70, 70 to 80. Yeah, everybody's looking for silver now. So all you had to do was have a little bit of it, like we used to say for the last 6 years. You would have been fine, because you would have had everything under 28 or 30. And then this last 3 months, whatever you did at 30 is 4 times as much almost now, 3 times and a half in only a few months. But again, I thought I was going to be dead when this happened. I never thought we would have a rogue government that would be killing United States citizens, getting rid of workforces, making sure the rich gets tax cuts and tax breaks and subsidies paid by the lower 80%. I never thought I would see that again and again and again. And this particular iteration of the GOP presidency is beyond anything. And now somebody's going to have to pay for this. And the rest of the world's going, we're not paying for it. We're not giving you more money so you can give us 25% tariffs, which they don't really care about that actually, because they know the United States citizens bears the burden. And the United States corporations, what does bear the burden for anybody doing business inside of America? When I ship my product to the American company that's going to sell it for me, he has to pay the 25% more. So now he has to raise the price a minimum of 25, but now my shipping cost might have went up, because shipping now to the US is going to be more expensive because there's less shippers. So now it's going to cost the American company inside of America. He's going to have to raise the price. And now he's going to probably say, I need to get rid of some employees, because I that would reduce my bills, and figure out where to cut the expenses. Because if your prices have to go up with 25% or more, all of a sudden you're like, hold on, man, are people going to buy this? And then you have to put it on the shelf. And then when people don't buy it, you're out of luck, potentially, if they don't want to take it back. So that business outside of the United States, they go somewhere else. They find another market, because they're like, okay, this guy used to order 1,000 units from us, but now he's ordering 50. Okay, we got to find another market. Let's go to some other country that's not going to charge us the extra money. And so that's how the building has been working around the United States. And it's going to continue. They say, okay, well, and the other part to this that people don't realize is it works on the other side as well. What do I mean by the other side? Let's say an EU country has a problem selling inside the US, but the other country in Asia used to purchase from the US, and now EU bypasses and sells directly to the competitors that used to buy from the American companies. So now you lose the market. This is what happened to farmers with their soybeans and other agriculture. because they said, okay, well, the South American market is cheaper than the U.S. We were just buying from you because we were friends. We know what we're getting. We've been doing this for 50 years. We understand. But now you say, well, I'm going to do a 50% tariff. They said, well, okay, we can just buy it from South America. So now you done cut off the farmer's business. So now when you have an all-time record high of bankruptcy from farmers, who are you going to blame? We should know who to blame. It's the person that does some dumbass stuff. There's only one person putting tariffs on farmers, knowing good and well that that's going to raise the price. And people would say, Eric, you said farmers. No, I said on China. So the point is, when they're trying to send back, China goes, you know what? We'll do a reciprocal tariff. So now they just blocked the United States from being able to ship into their market. Then they get to go down to South America and buy for less. So now the farmers are going to be out for life. They're not coming back. There's no reason to come back. Even if you said, let's go back to tariffs like it was 1960 or something, they're going, why? Because we don't know when the next time dumbass Americans vote for the dumbest to lead. You guys might F around and do this again. So why are we going to bother? We'll just stay with the guys down there. They're nice. They're not talking rhetoric. They're not talking stupid. So again, this is another reason why the gold and silver and precious metals, this is why it's going off the charts, ladies and gentlemen. Because the rest of the world is saying enough is enough. We're just going to buy gold, silver. We don't need to buy bonds and treasuries. It's safer. It's not being devalued. And we'll create our own currency, which is now called BRICS. EU already did theirs. BRICS is now garnering it. And you know what BRICS is going to do? They're going to get more people now in their BRICS coalition because they're going to say, you know what? We can run our own currency. They haven't done it yet, but they have the population to do it. They have more than half of the world's population under their control. They have more of the water. They have more of the oil, which oil is going to go by the wayside. But they have natural resources that could make them all a superpower, because when water becomes a problem, fresh water, there's a few places that are not in the United States that has a hell of a lot of aquifer water. And they're not doing what they do in the United States, where some billionaires control the aquifer, or Nestle controls the aquifer, a corporation. So therefore, this is why gold, silver, precious metals are going to continue to rise, because they're going to be utility. People need them. Corporations need them. And then people are saying, countries are saying, you know what? I need it because I know what it's going to be worth. It doesn't really go backward that much, unless there was some way that you can devalue gold and silver and what people are using, which I don't see how that's going to be possible. But again, if you want to get in the game, you have to get in the game. So I have the loans for you. Some people would say, Eric, I don't think I can invest in precious metals. I don't have the actual necessary funds. Well, you got to do it two ways. You got to figure out if you're going to buy the physical, or you can actually trade it. But if you trade it, you're still going to need some money. Because again, today it went up greatly and it went back down. So you can make money both ways if you do trading in the stock market. But again, let me do something that I didn't do just yet. I need to get some things in the chat room down below. Here, I'll do it this way, and make sure you get your free shares of stocks, because the stock market is controlled by the top 93% of the wealthiest. So just make sure you understand that scenario. Did I give you guys Tracy Sharp? I'm pretty sure I did. Okay, let me do some things. At the very bottom of the chat room, I keep saying chat room, description box, if you're watching on YouTube, or maybe even Twitch or something like that. No, on Twitch, you don't see down below in the box. There's our Stop Struggling Now Facebook group there. and the Stop Struggling Now Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Discord and all of that. All right. I post some memes every now and then. All right. So, and other things to help you with boost up your credit and get your free shares of stock if you still haven't made stock trades yet, which is pretty wild if you haven't. But again, let's go see what these guys had to say. By the way, are you curious? Seek shelter for global risk. Just what I'm describing. That's the real deal right now. The risk. Gold's rally reflects mounting flashpoints from Greenland and Venezuela to the Middle East, reinforcing its role as a hedge amid structurally higher geopolitical risk. There we go. So people are hunting for it. Spot gold price gain 2.4, trading at 5,102. So imagine rising all the way to 5,000 for what was it, 49.60, something like that last week. It goes to 5,100. Now imagine if you were doing stock market trading on your own. How much can you make? So some of you are like, well, I don't know. Trading. You're calling it because of this Greenland, Venezuela, Middle East geopolitical thing with Iran, USA, and all this. That's part of it. But they also realize the country with the world currency is broke and they keep printing money and they're destabilizing the world. So now all of a sudden they're going to do economic warfare. They're going to try to do embargoes against certain countries. And again, that causes a problem because then they run around and they go to the UN and say, we're doing this embargo, we're blocking these guys, and nobody needs to go past the embargo. Well, some of these guys are with BRICS. So they already are doing it. They're just trading their own currencies. They're allowing it. And then the US is sitting there losing their mind because they're like, well, we tried to put an economic embargo on these guys and you guys aren't upholding it. And the rest of the world's going, but we don't agree with you. So no, we're not going to uphold it. They're our friends, even though they're bad guys, right? So again, it's very, very interesting. And we're in a world of hurt. Okay, look at this. Western ETF holdings have climbed by about 500 tons since the start of 2025, while newer instruments used to hedge macro policy risk, including physical purchases by high net worth families, have become an increasingly important source of demand. Exactly. That's why there's a squeeze happening. See, look at this 2026 gold prices. They're talking about 5,400 an ounce. It could be 5,400 an ounce next week. That's what's funny about this. All right. And I mean, it's just going to keep going. It's not going to, I don't, central bank purchases also remain robust. They're out. Goldman estimates central bank purchases are now averaging around 60 tons a month, far above the pre-2022 average of 17 tons. With emerging market central banks continuing to shift reserves into gold. See, everybody's going that route. Everybody. Even though gold could what would happen if gold went to half the price? You know why I say this? Maybe you don't. Reason I say this is because guess who doesn't use gold to back their currency or back anything? The United States. Their currency stands alone. So as long as they can manipulate it, it doesn't really affect their currency situation. The rest of the world, though, their currency is valued by, it has to be backed by something. The United States is not. So that is the whole thing. And if the US ever had the current world currency taken away from them, then they would be like everybody else. All of a sudden, it would be matched. They'd go, well, you guys are $40 trillion in debt. We think your currency is 8-1 because they're going to count out the numbers. There'll be a calculation and they'll be like, oh, it's 11-1 of the new world currency backed by whatever or not. But again, this is what we're dealing with. Look at this. Gold headed to 6,000. Veteran investor tells us why. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm with this guy. That's why I told you it could be 5,400 next week. Could be this week. I'm with this guy, whoever this person is. David Roach from Quantum Strategies shared his outlook on markets and tensions, focusing on Japan's 10-year government bond yield to rise to 2.9% within a year as government debt increases. See what's happening over in Japan? They've been hurting for like decades. Decades they've been hurting because of their irresponsible fiscal responsibility for their country. And it hurt their citizens. It's crazy.
Investing wasn't always easy.
So it's in a video. But I agree with you.
Be grateful. Times have
will be gone
changed.
in a year.
With crypto at iTrust Capital, today's investing looks different,
They've been around
easier,
thousands of
smarter,
years.
secure, and with more options than ever.
I wouldn't talk about
The future is already here. Open an account today at
America's not even
itrustcapital.com.
250 years old. And they're going
About
through some
interest rates.
nonsense.
Let's get to
again,
yields. Obviously,
who
they've
knows?
calmed down. Do
All
you
right.
think this is just a
Make
temporary
sure you guys smash that like
sort of
button. If you have
respite?
anything to say,
Because, I mean, the
please
fiscal
put it in the
profiles
comment
in the
section
U.S.,
so I
for that
can
matter,
see
over in
it.
Japan, are not looking
right?
good.
I'm not going to be on too
Martin,
long.
we're going to have a
Nation Money
risk-on
Make Monday
day,
Live
maybe a week,
idea.
maybe more, because Trump has
Yeah,
backed
but-
down about his absurd militaristic type of
every Monday.
ambitions.
So
But
down
it
below in the description box. What do I want to do?
hasn't
Trading.
changed the
I
underlying
use coin
fundamentals, which is,
next.
you know, he
And
is
the reason I use coin
tariff revenues of 180
is
billion. He
because
wants
it's a
to give
broker.
480 billion
Rogue
to U.S.
broker,
consumers in the form of checks
Not
for
under
every
the
adult,
United States
and he wants to
jurisdiction.
spend another 5 trillion
So that's
on
one reason. And they
the
use
military.
crypto for me to load.
Well,
So
I mean, you know,
in
the
America,
180 billion doesn't fund those two things.
Which
So
is
if you want to ask me
fine.
where the budget deficit is going,
so
you know, you could
send
ask
it
my
to
little dog, and it'll
coin.
tell you it's going up.
But I don't have to
And that
send it
problem
back
has not been
to
resolved. It has not been
regulated
resolved in
Federal
Europe,
exchange.
where there are
The
different
United States
reasons.
government
And
knows how
defense
much
will be an
you
even
have
bigger one.
and all this
It has
crap.
not been resolved
No,
in
it's
Japan,
not against
where
it's
MS
not your best
Takaichi
interest.
has
Yeah.
clearly got an idea about economics which escaped me in
They have
all
to
my
grab
education,
money
60 years in the
sooner or
business.
later.
And it certainly has not been addressed
He
in
did
the
it
United
in
States,
2007,
where
2009.
to be honest, and with full
You're going
respect
to
for
do
the
it again.
office,
This is worse
but not
than
for the
then.
man, I think Trump
The
is
banks
talking
are going to have to
absolute
be
rubbish.
liquefied.
Goodness. Okay, which is why goes at least part of the way to explain why you are staying short dollar, as
So
well
that they
as
can
treasuries
pay
looking for
certain
yields to
obligations.
stay elevated, if not go even
The
higher.
reserve is
On Japan, very quickly.
Right? Just keep that in mind.
You know, it
So
seems
I
like
put
the
a link in the
situation
chat room.
at their long end is even more dire. There's been
out
literally an explosion,
And
5, even
again,
6 sigma move. I mean, it was just
not
like
United States
just
approved.
eye-popping. Are you concerned
Also,
that if she actually
do
does
not
win
trade Bitcoin.
the elections, the snap
You
election
can
coming
watch
out
the market
on February the 8th,
trade.
with a stronger mandate, etc., this could get even
Everything
worse.
else you can pretty much trade.
Oh yeah, it could get much
Same.
worse. In fact, my
Factor that use
modest
that,
forecast, which is usually wrong, and therefore
know,
I counsel you against paying any attention to what I say, is that Japanese yields, Japan having worse fundamentals than Germany, will equate to
take
German
advantage.
yields
Go up.
within a year, which means that at the 10-year
You
level,
win.
you're looking at 290.
Now,
And the reason for that
I'm going to bring this
is
up.
very simple,
Tuesday.
Martin. This
I bring
lady
it
is going to
every
add
Monday,
between 3 and
Wednesday,
4%
Friday
per year
is the
to a
Bancus
stock
part.
of debt, which
I
is
did not get my
240%
new
of GDP, and
you
obviously
need to
this is
sign
not
up
good news
and
for
get
the
the app,
markets.
ladies and gentlemen.
So I
do you
think
want to get
the likelihood is
it's a
that
crypto
she either wins the election and she goes ahead with these
which can be
plans,
used
which will not
anywhere
boost
in the
Japanese
world.
growth, it'll simply boost Japanese
What
debt
does that
far
mean for
faster
you?
than any growth.
That means
Or
you're doing
alternative, she
trading
loses the
or anything
election,
else for that matter.
and
You
then
have
Japan
to
goes
control
back
the
to being
crypto.
governed by a
You can
load of
send it to this
ineffective
account.
and effete coalitions,
Now,
of which
the
she
only
may
drawback,
possibly be a
there's
member,
always a drawback,
but it would be very
freedom.
bad news economically
4%,
also for
whatever you
Japan,
send
because
to
it
our-
would be a time for no economic decisions
So,
when you need a lot of
if,
economic decisions
you
to
wanna
put
send it
Japan
to
back on
your
a fiscal
central
course,
exchange,
which
that's
is in
fine.
some ways sustainable.
Again, I would
Do you think, David, that the
any of
BOJ
that.
has its back up against the wall right now? I mean,
Listen,
sure, they could intervene,
it does cost
right, to
$35.
try and tame or cap a yield, but that would mean
does
printing more
cost
money,
$35
which would, I mean,
plus
there's no way out of this. Then yen gets even
it's
weaker,
$45 for a
right?
plastic
Or are they going to have
cap
to
feature.
go back to
And another card is
yield curve
$75
control? I don't know.
plus $10 shipping, which is
No, well, look, Martin,
new
I
card
mean,
are now
Ueda is a man who
2
sometimes
weeks,
talks in
2
Japanese
weeks
terms.
ago
And remember, we're talking about
on a
whispering at a tea
Thursday,
ceremony.
Thursday,
He
because they
sometimes
have
talks
the
tough, but when
Zoom
he comes
calls
to
on
deliver, it's
Thursday,
usually pretty soft.
2 p.m.
I don't think he'll do anything in this
So
week's
2 weeks
meeting.
ago,
I think
they
he may
said we
talk
have new
about doing
cards
something
coming
down the
out.
road. But the
So those new
reality is the
cards
only thing he
that
can do is
week.
tighten
So
monetary
it takes
policy.
2
And the
to
reason
3
he has to
weeks,
do
6
that is
weeks to
because
do that.
inflation is way
So
above
I
his
don't know if they
target
send out
and is damaging
Wednesday, that
consumers
Thursday,
because it is eroding
Tuesday, either way, it's only got 2
wage
weeks.
gains and will do
So
so
we'll see
more
in
after the
about a
next
week
shunto.
to 10
Of course, the
to
Prime
2
Minister
weeks
wants
from
to
now, I
print a
guess.
lot more money and
We'll
spend
find
a
out.
lot
I
more
should
money.
have
But, this
which
is
card. You said
basically
Visa, now
the
it's Mastercard.
big battle
This card
about
operates
central bank independence in Asia. Who is going to
So
win?
here's
Is
the
it
thing: is
Ueda doing the same thing,
link
but too
to
slowly?
sign up
Or
for
is
the
it
app. It doesn't cost
Takaichi
anything.
doing something which I think is a
Also,
kind of mini mirror of Donald
the
Trump's fiscal
actual beauty
policies?
of this is not
We
only
talked
is
about Greenland's
on this
situation, the
call.
Fed situation,
The
what
beauty
Trump
of
has
it
been
is
talking about, and now Japan.
once a person
Does that
also has a
solidify,
card,
make it even more
you can
bullish
send
around
money
gold?
to
That
anybody
central
anywhere
banks
in the
are going
world
for
in the
gold,
banking
and
system
perhaps
and
bigger
zero.
allocations will come through for
So if I
gold
have
because that would
$2,000
make
on my
people
card and a friend
want to
says, "Hey,
avoid
I'm in
all the
Africa
fiat
right now.
currencies
I need
because
500,000.
that's really
I'm
the
in the
trend.
EU. I need
No one is
or I'm in
talking
the
about
Asia.
spending
I
less
need
at this point.
$500. I'm in
Look,
Russia.
it's
I need
absolutely a
$500.
part
All
of
I got to
that,
do is
together with a number of
go to
other things.
Bancus.
I mean,
Yeah, I go to
central
Bancus.
bankers
Okay, what
do
you
not
mean?
want to own fiat currencies as reserves because when
Just
you
sent you
put money
500.
into a reserve, you're thinking 12 years, 15
No
years.
fee.
And during that time, you're going to have a lot of things
Bancus
happen
to
to fiat
Bancus.
currencies, like
No
happened to
fee.
Russia,
And it's not
like
like
the
Zelle.
US's new brilliant idea of having
It's
stable coins,
instant.
whereby the
I
entire
tap
credit
send.
card surplus of the world will end up in the US
I call
Treasury to
you
fund
up.
the budget deficit.
Hey,
I
check
mean,
your
who the hell
account.
wants to get involved in
Guess
that?
what?
So what will
It's
you
there,
do?
ladies and gentlemen.
You will buy gold, and the
That's
Chinese
right.
will help
No
because
fee.
they'll internationalize
Friends,
the renminbi.
we signed
They
them.
will have exactly the
They're
same
from
surpluses
Mexico,
as before. Half will flow
Honduras,
into Chinese assets, which is
Guatemala.
why I
They
own
have
them.
family.
But the other half will
They've been
belong to
doing
people
what
who
they
don't want
do
to
to
own
me
any
right now.
fiat currency, including the
And
renminbi.
they were like, "What do
And
you
they
mean?
will
You
flow
sit
into
there and you
gold
just..."
too.
But it
That's
does
the gold
cost
story.
4%
6,000.
loaded. That's the only thing.
6,000.
And
Greenland-related
but
developments so far
as long
this
as they have
year.
a
Does
card,
that
you still can
somehow entice
you
or
get a
attract
card.
or introduce some of the
It costs
European
anything.
countries
Then
to
they
do
go to the
more
ATM
business
machine,
with
take the money
China
out.
in RMB? Is that part of your
Or
premise?
Yes.
don't have to
Now,
take the money
it's
out, have to
terribly
pay
unfashionable
some sort of
because, as
bill
you
or
know, the
something, whatever.
Chinese
You
components,
got the
dual-use
card loaded.
components, are killing
Simple as that.
Ukrainians at the moment. So how do you
So
do
you don't even
a
have to
trade
go
deal
anywhere
and expand
other than
your
you gotta
interests
load the card.
with
And
Europe
that's
if you're
what you
killing
can do by
Europeans?
your phone
But
because it's on
I
the
would
app.
say
You can
the
do it
Europeans
on your
will
computer.
ultimately move to China because it is a
So
counterweight to the
it's pretty
United
simple. It's
States.
cool.
And it makes
That's the
sense because the
features I like about it.
technology
If you
which
want to learn
Europe
more,
needs, i.e.
Tuesday,
EVs, comes from
tomorrow, and
China,
Thursday,
and
2
it will
p.m.
come as
Eastern and 8
investment.
p.m.
So that
Eastern.
is the new
It's
block
running.
which will
Check it out
happen,
there.
and it will be a further isolation
That's
and
simple.
diminishment
Make
of
sure you
power
smash the like button.
of the United States. And Mark
If you don't
asked at
think
the
gold,
beginning, well,
silver, and
what's the
precious
cost
metals
of
is
what
going to be a
Trump did?
thing,
It's nothing. Well,
and
there's
it's
the
going to
cost.
continue to rise, please let me
There's
put
the
that in
cost.
the comment section. You want to
Let's
make
talk
sure
about the
anybody
cost of oil, energy
gold is
space. I feel
going
like
to
it's
drop.
sort
Funny
of,
thing,
I don't know,
Bitcoin
squiggling to wake up a
is
little bit after 3 years
weird.
of bear market.
So that
Does
it's
Iran move the
basically,
needle?
I look
Does
at
something
Bitcoin
else
as
move the
like US
needle?
dollar or any currency.
What's the direction for
It's
oil
not backed
Well,
prices?
by
look,
anything.
I mean,
Therefore,
you
it doesn't
have all
mean
these
anything.
nice countries in the
And
Middle
it's like
East
the
and
beanie
elsewhere
babies
which are
to
busy pumping the oil as they get up every day
as
and they
long as
pump
you
the
have
oil and they go to
somebody
bed and
to
then
pay
they get up
more
again and they do the same thing.
than
So
you.
that's kind of a stable forecast.
The item is
What is
for
different
no
is
reason.
Russia.
Eventually,
People have decided, I mean the
do what
Europeans
it's doing
and the
now
Americans,
because
for different
it's not
reasons,
backed
and far too
by
late, have
anything based.
decided that all
It's
this
just like
Russian
the US
oil, which
dollar
is
is
scooting
backed by
across the
anything
world to
based,
China and India, is not going to go
except the US
anywhere.
dollar is
First
real
of all, they
currency.
attack the users, mainly
Crypto has
India,
over
of course, because nobody
2,000 or
dares
3,000
confront
different
China,
cryptos
but it's
running
actually
right
much more
now.
important.
There is
Then they attack the
Bitcoin,
tankers.
Ethereum, number one
And
and
that is
two.
what is happening. That's new because that means that those
There's so many
whole
different currencies that
1.6,
diverts money
I think it is
to different
1.6
ones,
billion
so
barrels
many
of
different
oil in these
kind of
tankers years, it's frozen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So that reduces supply.
So keep all of them.
Now, the other thing is, will
Right?
the Iranians,
I have
as the
something
regime
new,
declines,
gentlemen.
which it is declining,
I
it
have
has gone
something
in
new.
a year.
I found one of the SSN Lifestyle videos that I used to run a long time ago. Check this out. I found one that was on SSN Lifestyle. There goes one here. Let me see what it is. right, ladies and gentlemen, I found one. I don't know where the rest of them are, but as I find them, I'll be coming back 2026. You all will see. That's right. There is a Mr. Worldwide. That's right. We have a Worldwide too. He's about to start going on his tour. I'm going to still be here with you guys making these videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. By the way, got this gear. You can always go to Stop Struggling Now and order up some hats, hoodies, t-shirts, all there. Get yours, different colors as well. Well, hoodies, I don't even know if you have any more of these left. And nobody's coming to save you. I think we only have like a few of those left. That's right, collector's editions, ladies and gentlemen, quite frankly. Right. Now, I'm not going to be on here too much longer. I've already been on here an hour. But you guys need some gold, silver, and precious metals. Pay attention to the market. Do not deviate. You need a little bit of it, and you need to invest. So learn how to do stock trading with also, but it's high risk. I just got to tell you that it's very, very hard. All right. If you like a challenge, awesome. But it's very, very hard. Let's see, I gave you the CoinX, I gave you the Bancus. That's pretty much all you need. I gave you the findhelp.org, I gave you the tracy.sharp with the LinkedIn at moneylab.com email so you can contact me, reduce your debt, and pay it off in 1 to 2 years. Have a plan for you and improve your credit score. So all that runs into this play where you can buy more precious metals, more stocks before it's too late. You've got until December 31st, 2026 to do it. Get your credit right, buy some more stock, and get a little bit of gold, silver, precious metals, and a little bit of crypto. Don't be fooled. All right? Gotta have a little. Just a little. All right? Because those are pieces, right? So you don't have to worry too much about it. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I got to do a removal here. And there'll be a new video coming out in case you missed, you're a Dominican Republic investor and you missed it, or you don't even have to be a DR investor. You can be an investor anywhere. But the information I give you in that latest live stream, I'll be posting up a copy of it, kind of edited it down a little. I'll be posting that up tomorrow as a regular video. Do not miss it because there's some tools on there that I have for you short-term renters or owners, and you will see Air ROI, Air B ticks, Price Labs, so you can figure out if you want to invest in other countries. Tourism analytics, so they have the stats for tourism numbers on the islands or on the continent or a lot of different places. So if you want to invest in those locations, you need to know these numbers. And I go over several scenarios. And those same scenarios will be the same no matter where you invest. So you don't want to miss it. Or you can just go to the live tab at Stop Struggling Now YouTube channel page, or Twitch channel page, or Facebook's, or Instagrams, wherever you can find videos. All right. This one's called Dominican Republic Investors. And that's the one, but it's long. Okay. It's over 2 hours. Because I start going into other things, just how I'm talking now. But the fact of the matter is, I kind of tried to shut it down into over an hour. But we're going over detailed information and figuring out is it worthy to make an investment in the future. And I go one step further because when you buy real estate, it's when you buy, it's when you make your money. So if you know later what's going to happen, like in the case of DR, for instance, occupancy rates are going to go down, but the value of your appreciation of those who bought earlier will go up. So that gives you an idea on what to do later, such as since there's going to be so much inventory either way by short-term rentals, that in turn is going to make people say, well, I don't want my short-term rental. I can't be paying to keep this going, and I don't want to live there permanently. I don't want to have a long-term renter because that's risky. So I'll just sell it. And now they're going to sell below value because there's an oversupply. just like what's happening at River Island right now. People are selling for a loss to get out. And River Island isn't even built yet. Jardines, 4 in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, reduced their pre-construction condos $2,000 to $5,000. It's not like a 1 day or 1 week promo. This is now reduced because sales have dropped. People have said, you know what, it's not worth it. We're seeing what other people information is. People have Air DNA, they have Air ROI, they have Air B ticks, they have Price Labs. But the beautiful thing is airroi.com. You can actually go see people's occupancy direct. It shows the listings of the occupancy rate. So when you go there and you see 30%, 7%, 3%, 8%, 12%, 25%, oh, here's 179%. But that's an anomaly. All of a sudden, you're back to 40%, you're down to 35%, 20%. When you start seeing enough of those under 20%, you start realizing this is a thing. You're thinking, oh no, it can't be that. There's one, okay, let's see. There's another. Oh, there's another. There's another. There's another. There's another. And you're like, there's not that many. 79%, 90%. I mean, there might be 1 out of 10. But then you go to Price Labs, and Price Labs says for Dominican Republic, the overall island only gets 31% occupancy for short-term rentals. That's not good under any circumstance. If they would have said 59, 55, I could live with that. But 31%, that's because there's an oversupply. And it's only going to get worse. So that's the type of things you need when you do investing. So we'll talk about it again on Wednesday. But I want to thank everybody for being here for this SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream. And I love you guys very much. I appreciate your support for all these years. Don't forget, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream. We're going to have a lot to talk about. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, it's only going to get harder. Even if you're going, hey, Eric, I earned $250,000 a year, I don't care. It's going to get harder. You can't even outpace what's coming. So, in other words, let's just say you had something crazy like 10,000. No, I can't. Let's just say you had $4,000 of money that you can just throw away every month to the ocean. All right. And then a year from now, that $4,000 that used to be disposable income that you could make investments with, do whatever you want, all of a sudden prices increased and now it has encroached upon your $4,000. Instead of $4,000, it's $2,000 or more. Because you don't know how much your real estate's going to be, property tax is going to be. You don't know how much your insurance is going to be, your health care, your property, or anything else. You have no clue what food prices are. And if you live in an area that has weather patterns that can cause destruction and into your property, you don't know for a fact if the insurance company is going to pay out after they've 3x and 4x your insurance premiums, whether it's your car or your home. You don't even know if they're going to pay the repair. So now you're going to be in the same dire straits or getting closer to other people who do make a lot less than you. And funny thing, when you Google people that make 6 figures, 150 to 250, are saying they are also having a very, very hard time, which is crazy when you think about it. So you know how bad it's getting. So this is why the precious metals play right now, and before was always unique a little bit. Some people were stacking high heavier than others. The little will do you. Right now, a little, that's 10x. No, it's done more than that. I'm talking about silver. Silver was 6 years ago. It was $10, $11. 10x. Yeah, it's over 100. 110 it was the high so far. It probably dropped this week because it did 109, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, of course, it's going to drop on the markets because they want to manipulate it. JP Morgan was trying to short silver. Then they got blasted for billions because it kept rising and they had to let the position go. And luckily they did because it rose another $30. It would have hurt them very badly. The billions was bad enough, but it hurt. But they've been manipulating. They've had lawsuits against them for manipulating. They've been fined. They've done shady stuff trying to make sure silver and gold prices stay down. Now they're buying. Funny stuff. All right, we're going to wrap this up. And again, thank you so much for your support. And just remember one thing out there. A lot of people are stressing to rest. You never know what somebody's going through, so you got to try and keep yourself a level head. Don't engage. Walk off. You never know who's doing what for what. Just know you be safe. Mind your business. All I can say is this. Make sure no matter what you do, keep your head up. Keep moving. And I'm out.